Welcome, 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 guys. It's Jeff from RenoVision here with the crew today, and we are on a brand new project. And today's project, oddly enough, is we are taking out every wall on the main floor. We were blessed with a truss frame in the ceiling, so what we're going to do is go through the process of tearing it all out, removing all of our electrical, removing all of our plumbing, tearing out all of our headers, all of our load-bearing structures. Let's just jump right into this. I think the first thing we're going to tackle is the header. Our plan is to start where I'm standing, and the guys are actually right in the kitchen behind me. We're going to be tearing out the kitchen walls, and then we're going to slowly work our way back through the rest of the house. And if we have enough time today, we're even going to reframe the window in the back bedroom. We're changing the floor plan completely on this build. We've got a structural engineer. We had him come in. We talked about the process. This is not a video to show you how to remove structure, load-bearing walls. This is a video showing you how to remove walls that are not load-bearing, okay? We're going to be dealing with some structural elements as we go. Further down the project, we're actually taking out all the truss and vaulting the ceiling and putting in a ridge beam. So there's lots of opportunity to learn about structure. Today, it's just about getting some work done, some blood, sweat, and tears. Just be mindful of that fact. I'm going to probably harp on this a little bit. I don't want you guys pulling out load-bearing walls going, look, just like Jeff's wall, should be fine. The truth is that this house was actually framed to be load-bearing. And then the builder in 1974, before we had building code, decided to go to truss construction, which means all the weight goes to the outside walls. It looks like it was made for load bearing. It's going to look like your house, but it doesn't mean that your house can just have the walls removed, okay? Let's just settle that fact. I don't want anybody having an accident, getting hurt because you do what you saw me do, and it looks the same, because it isn't. What we're looking at here, guys, is it's a structural load-bearing beam. And whenever you're in a house and you see the ceiling drop down like this is what they've got going on. If you don't have truss, there is load on this beam. Because we have truss, we don't have load on this, all right? So the best way to take this out, A, is above your head. We're going to cut it into sections. It's nailed from the top as well, or should be. So I'm going to just have Matt cut up as much as you can. Cut this into thirds for us, so it's manageable pieces. Okay, all right, well, let's just tackle first section and we'll cut the rest later. All right, let's, yeah, you see it's pulling right off the nails right away.
Yeah. So hold on, we have nails being poked through from the top, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's coming off real easy. I just gave it one love tap.
All right.
All right, let's do it from this side. So, okay, nice and easy. And we're just going sideways, because I'm taking advantage of the width of this versus this.
Okay, hold on, I got it. I got it.
Okay. Beautiful. One of the coolest things about the way they built back in the 70s is they didn't have drills, they didn't have screws, right? Hello. They did everything with nails, by hand. So, if you understand the way they built, you'll understand how to take something apart. So what we have here, if you understand what load is, we have a truss here, and this is like our pivot point. If you can think about the old teeter-totters they had at school back in the day. If I pull down here, I've got upward force right here. But because none of these walls are being kept here, and that's not going to damage the truss, I'm just going to pull this down in one piece, because Matt's a strong guy. He can handle that. Got my lift, okay? So now we can just take the Sawzall, switch out to the torch blade,
okay,
and then we'll just rip all these nails and pull these pieces out. There's never one system that works great. Always have a few options and a few tools. We're gonna do most of the work today just with my big hammer there, a sledgehammer, the skill saw, and then we also have this tool with the metal cutting blade. That's about all you're gonna need, right? A couple of snips to take care of the electrical, but for the most part, it's pretty basic. Here it is. And the way this works, guys, is this pedal, if this is pushed up against the building material, then the blade moves around. If you're just holding it loose, everything's moving. You don't cut anything. There we go. Try that. And then we got these on the back side. Okay, try that.
Okay, I'm actually going to feel it your way now. Actually,
It's already disengaged. All right, let's do the same thing on this side, Matt. You can see that beam was designed to carry even the snow load of a winter climate on this roof, which means it could be 3-4 feet tall depending on the year. Nothing's falling down. There's really no change. This is perfectly safe. All right, Matt, I'm gonna get up here and cut the nails. There we go, piece of cake. You got it. Well, there we go. That's step one, right? That's the beam. Now, the top plates and all the strapping are also going to be getting ripped out. Probably just going to have to use hammers and go at it, okay? They're using really big nails, buddy. Here. The best way to get this done is get one end loose, because then you can pry it all off a lot easier. Whew, that's work. My experience has been, once you've got a few nails out, all you need is a little bit of gravity. They got some real nails going on, don't they? There we are. Okay, let's get the strapping out of the way on both sides. This should be a little easier. Don't fall off your ladder. All right.
There we go.
Okay. This is something that I never covered with the engineer, because the engineer and I talked about these braces, and he mentioned they might have been temporary, but usually when you're building, you don't use 2x4s as temporary, right? You use a 1x3 or 1x4. So his only concern was that this is attached to the plate, which it is. And in that case, we had to put some lateral bracing on this because it's providing some structure to the roof so it doesn't all just slide over. Now at the other end of the roof, it has the bracing as well, and we're not disengaging that. So that's gonna make this a hell of a lot safer. But what we're gonna do is find a way to slide this up through the hole. Use your cordless nailer, all right? And I want you to nail this in, 3 nails on each side, about a foot up in the air, okay? That'll give us our structure again, and then that'll take care of any of that potential to weaken the structure above our heads. And you're gonna do a triangle pattern in the nails. Yeah. Somebody wants to know why I'm taking this all out. Great question. So here's the idea. This house right now is kitchen with a bathroom and then 2 bedrooms, 5 closets. Who has that much stuff? I have no idea. But here's the deal. What we're gonna do is change the floor plan to open concept kitchen. We're gonna push the kitchen wall back a few feet so that the finished cabinets are in the same line as the wall off the stairs coming in. And then we're gonna do a master bedroom, ensuite bath only, and a little 2-piece bathroom for like guests. That's it. So we're gonna lose a bedroom, make the kitchen bigger, get rid of all the closets and walls, and then we're gonna have a nice big 4-piece bath. So this will become like a main floor living space. This is my dream home. I'm making this for my wife. It's my forever home. So I'm gonna make it the way that we like to live, and one day when we sell this, we'll find someone in the world who wanna buy it. There we go. So that's a great test. Whenever you're cutting something, you're not exactly sure what's going on. You see how that is just floating around? The blade didn't bind, nothing moved, nothing collapsed. This is not really structural as much as an anchoring system. Wow. We're gonna get a workout today with these nails, eh?
Yeah. Is your hammer larger than mine or something?
Just the man using it.
Just the man.
Oh, so next is this wall right here. When tearing out a wall, the process is really simple. Just got to remember how it's built. So they build the wall with nails, and then they stand it up in place and then tack it into the ground. So the removal process is simple because it's a top plate. It means that they're nailed together and they're not going anywhere because they overlap in the corners. So here's one wall plate and another wall plate. The second plate always overlaps and nails together. So they become a very, very solid structure, and it's not hard to deal with this at all. All right, so the way I like to do it is really simple. You take the sledgehammer and you just get a little batting practice in, right? Knock them off the nails, okay? And then it just really pulls off the nails. That's it. You gotta love old-fashioned stuff. Those nails have no adhesive like they do with the modern nails and their nail gun. And so these ones just come off really simple. All right, and then you just pull and twist. And if you need be, give it a love tap. Now remember, when you're doing this, all the nails are sticking up through the bottom plate. It is quite possible that you're gonna hurt yourself really bad by stepping on them. When you get to one of these doorways, it's a double, okay? And there's a header here. So instead of hitting it this way, I've got resistance, I'll hit it the other way, put a little more oomph because there's a couple more pieces of wood. There we go. It's therapeutic, really. All right. And there she goes. That's about as simple as it gets. The secret is the nails. So while we're working, we'll just hammer these over a little bit because it's good to be wearing the safety shoes. So you got steel toe. You got a steel plate on the very bottom. But you see that bulge right there? That's foot. If you step on a nail on the side of your shoe, there's nothing to protect you there. So pretend like you're not wearing them and then work like you're not wearing them. And then when you actually need them and they're helpful, they're great. Beautiful. Now, here we also got a corner. And when they're making these things, they'll build the wall, they'll put up another wall. They'll still nail these corners together from the backside. So it's a bit of a pain in the butt ski. All you do is give it a bit of a love like this. Once you've opened it up, you can then put your hammer in and then pull straight down to open up that gap. There we go. Now you're going to find that these are always going to split on you. Done. Now that I'm disengaged, this triple all comes one piece of wood. Let's take an opportunity here to learn something. These plates are going to be put down with nails as well. So we're just going to go underneath, pry it up. Oh, I got two here. Oh. There we go. Okay, so these are nailed from the surface. That means that's the end of the nails. No more issues here. I think here's an opportunity. I'm going to show you guys something. We talked about the defects in this building construction. We got all this little mold growing on this paper. Now this particular wallboard is a Johns Manville company, okay? Back from 1974. So this is like a cardboard. This is like a fiberboard. So this is not OSB. This is not plywood. It's not my first choice, but it's not anything really wrong with it. It's not the strongest sheathing in the world, right? So it doesn't give you a lot of that protection. So that's why they added these boards. Now, this is not one piece of lumber cut into the frame. This is just individual blocks. Not the greatest technology in the world. Definitely not good building science. Standard practice though, back when this was done. Okay, remember this is a before building code house. Now, all of that to say this, because it's a paper and it gets wet, then it stains. And it really lets us know what's going on with this house. So here we got an issue. I have a roof overhang on the back of the building, okay? And I have this nasty moldy spot right here. Now I don't have a lot of nasty moldy spots anywhere else in the whole building on the wall, just this one area. So it's not the sheathing that's the problem. It's not the roofing that's the problem. What the problem here is somewhere on the outside, there's too much reliance on the caulking because you'll see that this is here. Here's the outside. They wrapped the house in this. It's just a tar-soaked paper. So that was their building science. Cardboard, tar-soaked paper, and then aluminum siding, and then caulking. Now, around that door, the caulking obviously isn't sufficient to do the job. So that water's been getting in there. So every time we had an eastern wind storm, usually the eastern wind storms have heavy rain, heavy winds, and it drives that rain right into the building, past the caulking. And that's why this is all ugly. Yeah, we're gonna deal with it, but I only have one spot in the whole building that suffered that same consequence. So it's not terrible building science, and if you've got an older house, take a look at your caulking, because if your caulking has got separation, that's happening to you, okay? Sooner or later, you're gonna get that wind-driven rain. And in your insulation, inside here, if it's fiberglass, it gets wet, and then it sits down, and when the fiberglass gets wet and it starts to sag, then up top is an airspace, and then the winter time, you get frost, you get ice in your wall. And then that ice melts, and then you get more mold, and the insulation gets even wetter, and it's something that kind of deteriorates in time. So you want to avoid that. So always keep an eye on your caulking. Make sure you have a good look around your house. Here's another situation where building code and housing technology back in the 70s and even more recently. The last time they changed this roof, they might have solved this problem, but look at all the mold on this plywood. It's a little soft, okay? Not the greatest. But this vent stack, here's the wall. I've got about a 16-inch overhang. It's within 4 feet of my gutters. So what you're gonna have here is this vent stack is a ABS plastic. It's 3-inch wide. It's coming up through a penetration of the roof, and it's a rubber gasket on like a rubber apron. Okay, they nail the rubber apron down, and they might even put a little bit of sealant around it. But then what happens in the wintertime is in the morning the sun hits and it starts to melt all the snow, and then in the afternoon it goes to the other side of the roof, and then it freezes again. So you've got this constant ice dam building up. And ice, when it freezes like that. It doesn't just go sort of get hard slowly, it just pops. And so whatever caulking is in water, when that happens, the caulking loses the battle. Next day, the caulking is removed, it's been lifted, the water goes underneath, bum, 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 and now it's all underneath all the shingles, thawing and freezing and thawing and freezing, and that's why this is getting moldy. The solution to this problem is simply put this penetration up into the attic, put an elbow here, run it a few more feet over, and go through the roof up here, where you're not gonna get any ice damming, okay? So consider that. If you're doing some major plumbing work in your house, get your vent stack away from the peak of your roof. Current building code, we now have 4 feet of ice and water shield, and that is that a tar-like paper that goes on the surface before we even start with our shingle process, okay? And that's like the last protection barrier against the ice. They're expecting ice to get underneath your shingles. That's just the way it is. And so if ice is gonna get under the shingles, make sure you don't have penetrations in your roof, no venting, no bathroom fans, just get it all away from there and move it at least 4 feet up. That goes for skylights. Make sure the bottom of your skylight is a bare minimum 4 feet away. And if you're in a 4-season climate, for the love of the Lord, get yourself a heating cable and cover it up and put it in your downspout so that you have no ice buildup around your skylights. It's the #1 reason for leaks in new homes around the skylight is ice. And you can avoid that by plugging in a low voltage cable, goes on every 4 hours for about 30 minutes, and you'll never have a problem again in the rest of your life. Okay, I have on top of that, I've got a 3-inch pipe. And I just jumped on a ladder earlier today and I stuck one of these caps on there because our plan is to relocate all the plumbing in the house. So none of this is any good to us. And what I want to do is I want to just wrap this around the pipe, okay? And then screw it up in place to hold it in place, because once I remove all this plumbing, if I don't have a cap on it, then every time it rains, it's going to rain in the building. Problem. And if I don't hold it in place like this, it could actually just slip out and fall right out of the hole. Bigger problem, okay? So we're just going to be smart about this. We're going to get this tied up, and then we're going to cut out all of this plumbing. I'm going to leave a couple of inches here on the pipe just in case I want to use that joint again in the future. Now, so I am simply going to throw a screw up here. Now this is just temporary measure, okay? There we are, nice. Now I can cut this and it's not all going to fall down on my head. Let's remove all the plumbing. #1 rule before you renovate, turn off all the power that you don't need and turn off all your water and drain your lines. Okay, let's just get this in the right place. Got it, all right. Now for the most part, that's just venting. And so we could save the top piece of pipe for future use. I know that sounds almost stupid, but stuff goes for 20 bucks for every 6 feet. I mean, I'm still cheap, right? Holy cow. Check this out. These are these 3.5, 4-inch monster nails straight through that into the floor. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, they're just coming apart like a house of cards, eh? Okay, now scratch one pocket door. Just hang on it, put your weight on it.
I mean, it almost wants to go.
Yeah, it wants to. There we go. So not everybody here is going to be removing the entire wall in your house. Lots of you folks, you're going to be in a position where you're going to be taking out a wall and you're going to have a top plate left. And you're going to be rebuilding something in the same space. And all we got to do is get a grinder, metal blade, okay? And you can cut all the bottoms of the nails off, nice and flush, and then build underneath. And yeah, try not to do that with your mouth open. I'm just gonna knock a few more studs out of the way here. We'll finish off this wall. Almost got you. Yeah, that's a great way to get a nail in the arm. Go ahead. Hey, when you're carrying lumber full of nails, guys, if you can't hold it in your hands and you're relying on your arms and your body to keep it from flying around, I'm gonna guarantee you're gonna be a punctured piñata at the end of the day. Less is more. Take your time. Play safe. Yeah, you always use more nails than necessary. What the heck? Feel free to get in there. Thank you, sir. Guys, when you're building walls, the only reason we put nails in it is to keep it from sliding around. Gravity does most of the work. We're gonna have the rest of the walls out, and we're gonna be doing some temporary shoring and then reframing the back window. Part of the design is for that to be the master bedroom, and then have an 8-foot by 4-foot window. Very much similar to the one we put in the farmhouse. I love those big windows. How much weight can a truss hold? I wanna swap out a ceiling fan for a 40-pound chandelier. Now, we're all eating, but that's a great question. I'm gonna show you how to do that. So, this up here, that's your truss in the roof. So this is what's carrying the load of your roof. And it's connected at the top, and it's connected about halfway down with cross members that meet here, okay? And what that does is that has downward pressure. Now the 2x4, the only way you can have downward pressure is if this roof downward pressure also means outward pressure, okay? And so the way this works is that it's all webbed together so that it can't go out, so then it can't come down. Now, as soon as you change the dynamics of this and you want to hang something from this, let's say you want to get rid of this light fixture and put in a 40-pound chandelier. First of all, that's notched in, which is not a good idea. But the best way to do that is this. Take a piece of lumber from your attic, not necessarily 8 feet long, but it's really all we got, okay? And come across, pick up 2 trusses, nail it in place, and then add blocking underneath and bring it down to the height where you add that box and you're flush to your ceiling. All these like ceiling fans or heavy lights, you want to have this box mounted straight up, not off the side to something. All right, so that's how you do it. Once you put that bracing in there, it's not so much about the weight, it's about you're trying to make sure that you're attaching something where the weight is all hanging directly down from the framing through the box and then the chandelier. Anytime that box is to the side of anything, you're done for. All right. So that's the technique. We pull it off the nails, lift it off the nails, and then twist it off the nails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 nails in 1 piece of wood. Wow, that wasn't going anywhere. You'll see a lot of people, they'll be in a renovation, they're tearing out 1 wall. And they'll get the studs, they'll get the 2 plates, and they're like, what's this extra piece of wood for? Back in the day, it wasn't uncommon to use a 2x6 or 1x4s or 2x4s. This is just to attach the strapping. So this is just back framing for the strapping. So it actually comes off from the top side of all of that. And that's all that is. And so when you're gonna go rip out just 1 wall in your house, remember, there's lumber above the wall that's attached to your ceiling. And so you've got to use a lot of precision in peeling this apart like an onion, or you're going to destroy your ceilings while you're at it. Got it. And that's why you want to have your floor clean when you're working. Every once in a while, you're going to get thrown off a ladder. Not a big deal. Just make sure you got somewhere safe to land. So what we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to actually finish tearing out this wall, and we're going to install some temporary railings. When you're on a job site, best practice, top rail, flat like this, not like this, because it has more strength. And we're going to put it in a few screws down into lumber, and then we're also going to put a bottom plate. So it's called toe kick. So you're on a job site, you don't just go accidentally kick your tape measure off over a cliff and hit somebody else in the face, right? Try to be gentlemen on the job site, eh? This is an old-fashioned way to do anything. You drill a hole, and then you shove a wire in that hole, okay? Now, truth is, in the four-season climate, in the wintertime, the space above here is the insulation. And above the insulation, it's crazy cold, okay? Just as cold there as it is outside, maybe 1 or 2 degrees warmer. Largely because all these holes where the electrical went through, none of them got filled with anything. No acoustic sealant, no fiberglass insulation, no spray foam, because this was 74, right? I mean, yes, we had spray foam in 74, but it was very rarely used. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe we didn't have it until 79. I was only 9 years old, I don't remember. The point is, there's a lot of heat going up through that hole, okay? Remember, heat doesn't need wind. It's interior, it's part of the conditioned space. All air cavities leak. Everywhere where you have a plug, you have heat that can enter in behind that and travel up the wall. These are uninsulated walls. That heat just goes pouring through that hole. Hits up into the attic, creates condensation. Fiberglass bat in the attic gets condensation, it gets compacted, loses R value. Less and less efficient over time. Now it's a slow process, but over the course of 50 years, instead of having R30 in that attic, it was probably down to about a 20. That costs money. Remember, when they built these places, energy was free. Like, you could heat a whole home during the winter for $10 a year. Nowadays, you get $10 for 10 minutes if you do stuff like this, right? So make sure you, after you drill your holes and run your wiring, if the electrician doesn't seal his holes, make sure you seal your holes before you close up your job. And if you're doing remodeling work on your house, every time you see a hole like that, remember, there's one of about 20, okay? So if you can solve one of those problems, it's still a 5% increase on your deficiencies. That's worth doing. Let's not be lazy. Anytime you can save money by keeping energy from leaving your building, it's a good day. All right, here we go. Now, this is gonna be fun because here's my stud, this is blocking. I wonder if there's any insulation buried in behind this cavity. We're gonna find out together. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So what we see here is a real lack of attention to detail. Now, back when they built this, they didn't have vapor barrier plastic. They still had paper wrap insulation. This is very much consistent with what you're going to see in a lot of building zones south of the Great Lakes. You know, your Bostons and your New Yorks, your Carolinas. This is all over the place. This paper is soaked with a little bit of tar. It's designed to act like a vapor barrier, and it's poor. Like on the permeable scale, it's about as low as you ever want to go, and it's definitely not fit for this house. And it works better if it's actually installed on the surface and not stuck around behind backwards. If you're going to use it, have some integrity and at least cover the space. Anyway, now one of the things we're doing on this project is we're going to upgrade our insulation technology. I got two choices. I can add 2 inches of lumber to every one of these studs in the whole building, which means I got to manufacture it myself because they don't make 2 inch by 2 inch actual. They only make 1.5 by 1.5. Or I can go to spray foam, and we're going to opt to spray foam because we want an R20 wall. We're going to do an R20 in the basement. We want an R20 here. We're going to go more than R40 in the attic, probably closer to 50 or 60. Whatever it is, we're going to read the book. Whatever the code says, we're going to exceed it. In the future, for whatever reason, energy will just keep getting more and more expensive, especially in Canada. I can't speak to the United States, but in Canada, our government's got their hands in our energy cost, and so that means as long as they're broke, they're going to keep on making more money on energy. It's just the way it's going to be. Unless all you billionaires out there want to go help pay off the debt in this country, the rest of us little guys are screwed. Oh, great opportunity to get the hat off. Just don't want to set it on my control panel again. Jeff just mentioned they're going to spray foam between the studs. I heard the spray foam is great insulation. However, how do you run wires for outlets after spray foam has been installed? Yeah, you don't. So here's the plan. Honestly, our best plan here is to finish all of our structure, all of our interior walls, and then spray foam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reframe my exterior wall so that everywhere I've got an interior wall joining up against it it's not going to be the same kind of cavity build space. You see, remember we were talking about walls are all 16 on center? So this is 16 to 16 to 16. This stud doesn't need to be here. The only reason that stud is there is to facilitate this blocking, okay? Because they used hammer and nails. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rip this out, and I've got a bottom plate, I've got a top plate, and I'm gonna put 2 more cross members in here that I can attach my wall to. That way, when we're done our wiring, they can spray foam in behind all of my blocking, because you can't effectively spray foam behind that kind of blocking. And if I put a wall there, you definitely can't spray foam. So my goal is to get rid of this blocking technique and go to horizontal blocking so that I can A, have all my walls and all my wiring run first, and B, they can actually get in there with the gun and get in behind all my blocking. And that's the secret sauce of this mission here. Cheers. Brilliant. So what you're looking at here, folks, is my camera guy is actually about 10 feet from the wall. And this is our great big rectangle of what was a 4-bedroom home. There's 2 bedrooms downstairs, another living space, another bathroom. We're tearing out all of our interior walls, and we're making rooms for our new floor plan. So we have our massive kitchen, living, eat-in, one great big space, all of that. And then behind me is gonna be a master bedroom ensuite, 4-piece bath. It's main floor living at its best. We're gonna tie that in with a new deck and outdoor living center. But this is our project for the next couple of years. So make sure you're subscribed and hit your bell for notifications. Enable notifications on your phone if you haven't. What level difficulty would you consider this renovation? Aphrodite, I'm telling you right now. This is not tricky. It's actually easier to rip everything apart and start over again than to try to marry the old with the new. So this is a large scale project, but on the difficulty level, I'm gonna solve it relatively simple, because once we get everything back to framing, we're gonna be involving nothing but new materials and new systems. And so it should move pretty easily. I think the most challenging part of this project is gonna be ripping out all of the trusses and vaulting the ceiling and putting in our ridge beam. But we got plans for that. So I would say, grand scheme, I'm gonna call it a 7 out of 10, because the scale is so huge. I'm also bringing in electricians and plumbers to give me a hand. So we're gonna kind of combine DIY with when to call in good trades. Because in this kind of scenario, passing inspections is the key, okay? So I have an engineer for all my structure, and his stamp will pass any building inspector any day. And then the electrician and the plumber are responsible for passing their own codes. And then after that, well, it's all lipstick on the pig. Guys, I think that's it for us today.